Good afternoon. It's Tuesday, July 30th, at about 3:30 p.m. I'll call the Board of Water Commissioners meeting to order. First order of business is to approve the minutes of July 2nd and July 16th. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes of July 2nd, July 16th as published.
Second.
I have a motion moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
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 We'll go on to appointments. First appointment is Kristen Berger from Resilient Engineering. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. All right, so first on my list is to talk about the Main Street Water Main project. There's been a lot going on. On the straightforward progress to date, the contractor started up by the ramps. They made it just past the Hilltop intersection and they had to stop because the existing 6-inch main kicks out, kind of bowes out towards the center of the road and it's in the way. So they ended up going down to the tie-in near Brook Street and working back up the hill. And so they were able to do that work. They were planning on doing a tap and sleeve valve at Riverview today. Plan to pressure test and disinfect the section from Brook Street to Riverview and then connect services along that section of the main. After that point, they'll be able to remove the piece that's of 6-inch cast that's in the way, that's around that just north of Riverview area. Put that in, since there's no services that will be interrupted by doing that work. So that will allow them to keep working in the northbound lane. There was concern with trying to work in the center of the road, a lot of pushback on doing a full road closure. So ultimately the decision, it was actually Chris and Matt that came up with a good idea to just activate that section from the tying down at Brook Street to Riverview and get all the services switched over and then do a kind of remove and replace for the existing 6-inch main to get the new piece in and be able to do that work during the day. They're currently doing the detour that we talked about at the I don't know if it was the last meeting or the meeting that you attended, but with the downtown departments about the project, but we're keeping one lane open. I think we talked about this the last meeting. Okay, so they're keeping one lane open, the northbound lane, or at least that traffic going through the work zone and diverting the southbound traffic around. From what I hear, that is going well at this point. So we're through that crisis period of the issues with the traffic and all that. And they've been having good luck getting their police details out. Last week and this week, they've had 3 police details. We've also been doubling up with the flaggers, just temporarily until we got comfortable with that the police details were going to be showing up. We had the one day where the contractor wasn't able to work because he had no details, so that's when he started just bringing the flaggers in all the time. So I think at this point now, there's been a good faith effort by the police to fulfill the details. So I talked to Chris before the meeting, and we're going to tell the contractor, okay, don't request the certified flaggers because the cost is adding up. I have this updated cost spreadsheet to talk to you about, and Bob will just have to read it to you. The estimated additional effort for the certified flaggers through today, I'm estimating at just under $25,000. So that's significant. And if we keep on with them having the 3 flaggers, in addition to the detail, it's going to be another $55,000 probably between the water main work and the services and then the paving whenever that comes at the end of the project. I do expect we'll save a little bit of money on the north side, or the south side of the Jones River, that tie-in near Burke Street, that was changed to a tap and sleeve and valve. The design showed it as cutting in a T. We had an extra hydrant. They were gonna have to replace the service. And it's all this work. By doing the tap and sleeve and valve, we were able to eliminate that one hydrant, eliminate having to replace one service and some other pipe, couple of valves. So with that, I think there'll be a little bit of savings. We have been running into the contractor needing to use some extra fittings to avoid other utilities, between bends and couplings, and it's not gonna be a huge add-on, but there'll be something with that.
We had pretty much anticipated that.
Yeah, that's normal. The effort to do the tie-in, to the 10-inch main on the north side of the Jones River, the contractor does believe that they can do that as tap and sleeve and valve. It's gonna be at an angle to avoid the drain line that's out there, and the hope is that the angle won't be so extreme that you can't, use the valve. You can still need to be able to get an operator onto the valve stem, up at the top of the road. And as you can imagine, if it's on the angle, it's gonna be angled when you get up to the top of the road too. So there's only so much of an angle you can put those on. It doesn't sound like it's gonna be too extreme, so that's great, because it does save by doing the tapping sleeve valve on, you don't have to have this shutdown of the 10-inch main, and do a T with the couplings.
If need be, we could always in that tapping valve or a gate from the level plane,
Another,
just away from it.
Yeah, so just be able to control that. So, and there was they requested moving that main to the southbound lane to get up to Landing Road. But that would require a check with DOT. They would need us to submit a permit amendment to request that, and that's gonna take them at least 2 weeks. So we need the contractor to get this main onto that northbound side of the road. And Chris brought up a good point, down the road, at some point, there'll be a desire to get across the Jones River, and you'll need to have both stubs on the northbound lane. I seem to remember that if the crossing, if it's a separate bridge, needs to be on that side of the road for flow issues and things like that. So that's where that stands. I do expect they'll have some extra costs for paving. The temporary paving, there was an issue with the quantity that was in the bid, so it was underestimated. So it's a cost that it's just an extra quantity that's gonna be applied to the project. So I just wanted to flag that now to be able to keep track of where the contingency funds were falling. The end of the job, we have this issue with sorry, I put DEP, that's DOT. I have the wrong initials there. So Mass DOT requires in between point when the road's milled and then paved. So they require complete overlay from the curb to the center of the road. Not curb to curb, but that whole northbound travel lane to the center of the road. Has to get 2-inch milled and paved. They only allow 72 hours in between the time from milling and then paving. And the way the quantities were done, I was picturing they'd be able to have time to mill that road, and then they have to do a trench repair paving. That paving has to ultimately be 7 inches thick. So in my mind, they would just mill the 2 inches, put in 5 inches of the trench, and then put 2 inches over the whole thing. And then you're not wasting any asphalt. With that limitation of just 72 hours, there's not enough time to get all that work done. So the contractor needs to do the trench repair with 7 inches, and then come in and mill 2 inches curb to the center of the road, including 2 inches of the brand new top of that trench you just placed, and then put 2 more inches of asphalt down. It is a waste. It is a waste. So, and they've been resistant to giving on the 72 hours. You know, we might still have some time to try to push back. We can get a better schedule from the contractor on how much time would you need? Like, can it be done in a week? Is it gonna take more than a week? And then we'd know what to push back to DOT with. Is that, I'm estimating that to be a $50,000 waste, basically, of asphalt. It's expensive stuff. So,
That's DOT requirement, be done that way.
yeah, it's that 72-hour limitation that's a problem.
Even 72 hours, I mean, you mill, so you're gonna have a 2-inch hole in the roadway, you know, for more than 2 days. You know, by the time you stop milling and you get it all milled, and, you know, and by the time you get it paved again, you're not going to probably get it done in a 3-day period like that. I mean, it's, you know, we're not milling on the highway.
Yeah.
You know, there are people and there are residences and schools and all that has to be taken into account. And to think that you're gonna find this magic, you know, 72-hour window to get this stuff done is not reality.
Do you know why it's a 72-hour?
I think it's just to minimize the amount of time people are dodging the manholes.
Well, sure, I mean, we all
Yeah.
know, but
I'm
if
not-
it has to be another day because it will save $50,000 for the town. come on.
Yeah,
I live right off of Route 28, heading down to the port. I've been dodging manhole cutters for weeks.
yeah, I think
So
it's
where
different,
is the 72-hour?
but it's their own project.
That's a state job though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That-
exactly.
that's it, it's a
Oh,
state
It's
job.
their project, not ours.
But anyways,
Thanks for giving us.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so we, well, they'll come out and
Yeah.
shut you down. They stop by the site every day.
Is
They
there
know.
somebody that can be reasoned with?
I think we have time that we can ask and,
Let us know
Yeah.
if you think it's necessary to ask our elected officials to come to bat for us. I'd rather not ask if we don't need to, because then that looks like you're trying to bully them, but if they're gonna stick to the 72 hours, that just makes no sense. It just makes no sense. I don't understand it at all.
Put 5 in the trench and then mill it 48 hours.
that you couldn't have a 2-inch dip. What you have to do
How
is
long can
mill and then put down the 5 inches and then 2-inch.
Can't leave the 2-inch gap for a while.
So the other cost I have on here for you are the estimated cost for the police details. That's just based on, you know, what I estimated the time frame to be.
Yeah.
Give you an order of magnitude costs of all those different costs, so. Based on the funds that were remaining in the contingent, or in the appropriation at the time of the project, there's still a pretty good contingency for any other surprises that I'm sure
That's
will come along.
because you were conservative.
Yeah.
And
So-
it's
that's
a good thing we eliminated Hillcrest
Yes,
from the plan.
yeah,
We'll be in
there's no way,
we'll be in trouble now.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
We'll be treading water.
yeah. So, yeah, versus, and we know there'll be new surprises.
So that was good advice you gave us.
So, I'm glad,
Well, thank you.
yeah, I'm
Thank
glad. So to date, they've installed about 1,200 feet of main. The total is, about 2,750. So they're getting there, we're almost at the halfway point. It really is not a big job, you know, when you stop and think it's only
I'll tell you, they've
half
done a
mile.
fantastic job of paving. Because you don't even know, you hardly even know.
Yeah.
That may be the best part of the road, so.
It certainly will be when the project is done. So, the work that remains, still have to do install hydrants, pressure test, disinfect that piece from Brook Street to Riverview, and then do the tie-ins. Install the water main from Riverview to Hilltop. And then install water main on the north side of the Jones River from about 175 to 200 Main Street, do that pressure test, disinfect, tie-in services, side streets, and then at the end of the project, do the paving. We had already talked about the traffic and the cost, so, we did get a proposed change order from the contractor for the flaggers through the 19th. So, you know, that's something was expected. They put in another proposed change order for doing what they feel are extra test pits, but we had carried plenty of test pit quantity. They didn't fully use that quantity. Their claim is that, and they feel that test pits are for locating what you show on the plans. But, you know, the plans are never 100% accurate. This happens every project. There's notes on the plans that tell them it's to the best of the information available and basically expect there to be differences. And that's what we found. So you plan on doing these test bits to pre-investigate to find out where things really are, because you can't stand the ground. So I'm gonna push back on this proposed change with your permission.
Absolutely.
Because I don't feel like it's justified if we, you know. Talking about fumes.
Use the test pits you haven't used yet.
They're not fully used. Yeah, they did do test bits, so they've used some of the quantity, but there's still quantity left.
So use them.
And
It should be an extra, you know, until such time as the quantity used.
right. Yeah, I think their issue is that when you do test bits, you don't need as much equipment. So now that they have the equipment around, they want to get, you know, more pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
More bang for the buck.
could have done more test bits before. There was plenty of quantity there. And there'll be other changes that will be more reasonable, like the extra fittings that will be justified. It's understandable. So that's where that is. Does anybody have any questions about
I know.
rates? I was
Still
saying
staying
that,
within budget, that's good.
yes.
With
still
all of the
within-
issues, we're
Yeah,
still staying within budget.
still within the budget. I was saying to Chris, last week felt like it was like a month's worth of stuff. Hard to believe. But yeah, it's been going positive since that meeting.
I'm usually surprised how much they get done, given the circumstances that they're working in.
Yeah, it's been working well. They've been able to work the extended days. You know, we had at the beginning of the job, we had the limitations with DOT only allowing 9 to 3. And once we got the approval from them to work 7 to 5, that allows them to get a little more, more progress more quickly. And so we're still hopeful that it will be possible to finish before school starts, or at least get the water main part done. They still might have some service tie-ins to
Yeah.
deal with, but then it's smaller equipment that's in the way, so it's not, and they, you know, at that point,
Yes.
I expect we'll end up having to just work 9 to 3 because of the school traffic. So, but we'll stay on top of that. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the new well. So I have this handout here that shows where the test well work was done back in 2018. And the preferred sites were down at the southern end of the property, number 4A and 7A. And if it goes with either of those sites, I don't know if you can even see this, but there's still room to the north of it that you could fit another zone 1. So we talked at last meeting about not wanting to put it right in the middle of the property. So it was encouraging to see, like, okay, no, the work that was done previously had more to do with the contours on the site. They did the test well work at the lower part of the site, which makes sense because you don't have to drill through as much land to get to the groundwater. It's where, that's why Trackle Pond well is where it is.
But the contours extreme.
They do go up quite a bit, so like 40 feet difference between
No,
that
they
bottom
feel
area
about
and stuff.
a great removal to.
For grading
level for
purposes. For getting in an access road, I think they'd be able to swing it in along contours. It's not very like steeply graded. And in terms of doing a pump station, there's some flat area around where each of these wells were. I don't think it'll be too bad.
Okay.
Also-
I'm just thinking about contingencies on well construction now.
Yeah, no,
Let's just worry about the contingencies necessary to do the first well. The concept of using the Kelleher property and the overlay district into wildlands trust and the town's forest is very advantageous for everybody's concerned. But the primary purpose for acquiring the Kelleher property was to install the first well at the southerly portion. It just seems to make sense that if we're investigating at this point, then we can fit a second well in the same general area and be able to maintain zone ones in both locations. It will enhance the town's ability for far into the future to be able to provide potable water, possibly with a minor addition to the existing Trackle Pond magnesium plant, because that was originally designed and had been upgraded to accommodate 2 wells to begin with. So maybe need some additional, upgrading, but that is some way down the line, not something that we're talking about or funding anything about right now. It's more trying to do proper planning for the future.
so where it showed it gives you some flexibility for the future. And the other related to the new well, in terms of that project, at this point, my recommendation is to do an RFQ to get a design firm to actually do that work. It's more than what I want to take on right now, just alone. I haven't had good luck finding an architect that I have a positive relationship that I trust. And a big part of the project is that architect. The other thing is the hydrogeologist that did this test well work in Northeast Geoscience is essentially a 2-man firm. And they do great work, but one of the partners just passed away a little over a week ago. So they're down to one person. Actually, the guy that did the field work for this is the one who's still alive. So, but now he has twice as much work. And it just got me thinking that this project has a lot of moving parts. You want to have a lot of things going concurrently. So you might need more than just one engineer and one hydrogeologist on it to get it expedited on that fast track. That way, it either, God forbid, something happens to one of us, you would have a bigger team and you wouldn't have this as much of a problem. You're always going to have a little bit of a stumble when you lose somebody. But at least then it wouldn't be we got to find a whole new company to work with.
Are you talking about RFQs for a design firm and an RFQ for hydrology?
I think you could do it as one to be able to have the concurrence. So some of the design firms have hydrogeologists on staff. Others would partner with someone else. They can still bring on Joel, but they could also have like somebody else that might be able to either help him or be a backup for him, and have those, relationships already established.
Because our questions to ask them
So,
Do I hear a motion to put out RFQs for a design firm for the design of the new Kelleher property pump station?
so moved.
I'll second.
Moved, second, and so voted.
I can help you draft the RFQ.
Thank you.
I can start from one I helped another water supplier work on for doing a treatment plant project, so it just has to tweak the scope for it being a well and a pump station. And look at what the town has done recently for specific format that they're looking for up at the town hall for RFQ packages. We'll be able to come up with something. So, and in the meantime, once this is released too, I'll start letting people know.
And again, you would need things running concurrently because you can't wait for things.
No, yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's already gonna be long enough without pushing it down the road anymore.
But I think that'll be your best bet, where you need people that, concurrent to someone doing the field work for, like the new well, somebody else can start the permit process, and they have to do some modeling as part of it, so there's a lot that goes into that. And I think it'll help to have a few people, and even once you get into the design of the pump station, having that have a few team members to keep it moving as quickly as possible. So that was it. I met early with Chris on a couple of other things, but you can probably fill you in on those. This list.
Next up is the water superintendent.
All right, just a little update with the humidifier repair, 186 grassy hole. I've worked with Kristen to get warranty information. I've been back and forth with Winston Builders and waiting to hear back from the company who's actually the installer of the dehumidifier. They've given us an extended lead time of like 7 to 9 weeks to get the compressor to repair. We had four-star refrigeration come out to assess the condition of it. Their lead time for a new compressor was 3 to 5 days. So we're trying to figure out where that discrepancy comes. It's the same product, the same equipment. So we need to get in touch with the installer to see if they can expect that lead time. That 7 to 9 weeks is going to be beneficial to us.
It's gonna be a problem for this rest of the summer.
Yeah, so right now things are maintaining in there. It's not too bad of condensation. So the guys don't turn the exhaust fan, so they're bringing more humidity. It's going to make bad work. So it's kind of creating its own environment. So it's actually improved with it just being its own situation. So that's good. I was contacted by Mr. Roundtree in regards to the Hyundai dealership in Plymouth, asking his ability to be able to install an irrigation well. I looked at the plans that we have on file from the project, where his proposed site is. It would be outside of the zone 2, so there'd be no conflict with the zone 2. It would be outside of his service department, closer to the building, but is outside of the zone 2. I let him know that it doesn't appear to be a conflict within the zone 2 as far as that goes. He was happy to hear that. He asked for a letter from the board saying that he's allowed to install an irrigation well outside of the zone 2 for irrigation purposes only.
And you don't see a problem if we approve that?
I did talk to Kristen about it outside of the zone 2. In other words, a seasonal draw with a minimal draw. I don't object to it. I just wanted, before I proceeded with anything, well,
And that well is actually in the town of Plymouth.
that's correct. The entire project is in Plymouth.
Right.
Our zone 2 cuts through his building. The expressing of the concern that this board had with the construction of that, with the monitoring wells and where runoff was going to be situated, would be over the area of his parking lot runoff retention pond, but it'd be right beside the buildings where the well will be, for ease of installation for electrical and
Yeah, I move that we write the letter as you suggested, and you can work with Stacy to get the wording of the letter.
Okay.
A second.
Move second, so ordered to approve the irrigation well at Roundtree Hyundai Plymouth, as defined by the location explained by the superintendent.
Moving along, I just received today, the latest set of plans. I haven't had a chance to review them. From PGD Engineering in regards to, the subdivision plan that's proposed by, Glenn Priola.
Can you just identify it on the agenda, because it's not under Glen Creole?
It's the 40B project, Walking Road.
Thank you.
I haven't had a chance to review these plans.
Now, why don't we put that on hold until the next meeting, since you haven't had a chance to review it? Kristen hasn't had a chance to look at it, rather than take, comments without a initial review does not seem to be, in the best interest of the project nor the town.
All right, if I could just hit on a couple of key points. I did receive an email from Mr. Priola, asking if he could have permission to get a water main installed for the purpose of fire protection only. I said, I don't think that would, in the conversation, I said, I don't think that would be allowable under the moratorium, because it would be a new tap, new service connection.
Beyond that, many years ago, we thought we were doing the right thing up on Parting Ways Road to install a water main that was for fire protection only to at some point think that we would like to be able to give those residents of Parting Ways Road and the roads up there the ability to tie into municipal water, only to find out that the entire water main as installed was totally unusable. No matter what we did, and no matter how we tried to clean it, disinfect it, whatever you want to call it, it is still basically an unusable water main that was installed. And if in fact we were going to do anything now, we'd have to rip it out and put in a new main. To suggest that somebody's going to today put in something that's for fire protection only in a major subdivision, and then not think that those same residents are going to be looking for municipal water through those same pipes somewhere in the future, I have real problems with it.
We have history that shows that this is what's gonna happen, and we wanna be upfront about it.
Yeah, so I can respond to his email saying at this time of the moratorium that's not feasible. Let me know as far as that went. The conservation agent reached out to me. He had a chance to, I know you said to discuss this, just one quick little bullet, and then we'll table this for the next meeting. He had concerns about a community septic system that would be located adjacent to property owned by the water department that was for potential future well site. He just had concerns, with nitrate loading and the like. It would interfere with the usefulness of that potential well site in that area. So I'll review these plans, go over them with Kristen with questions, and then have better information to bring back to present to the board for the next meeting in regards to that project.
Thanks for doing that.
Thank you.
But again, if that community septic area is upstream of where a future well may or may not be located, and we don't know whether or not that is in the near or far future, to think that we're going to put a septic system upstream that may add additional nitrate loading may be inappropriate and ill-advised from the town's planning standpoint.
Yeah, well, those are the concerns that I had, similar to the concerns the conservation had. So that's about all I have.
Chris, do we want to go over the OCDC meeting we went to?
Yeah, sure. If you want to hit on some bullet points on that.
Wait, before you do that, can you just touch base on the Veterans Memorial, since it's on the agenda?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the Veterans Memorial, the town hall, irrigation concerns with that. In the planning phases, they didn't really coordinate things quite well with the timing of plantings and the dry weather and water bans we have in effect. So they've taken a position to truck in off-site well water to use for irrigation purposes. I had a great concern with the tie-ins for that, as far as that goes, with unknown water, unknown sources, or unknown tank, being connected into something that has a potential for a cross connection with municipal water. It would be unknown pump pressing, unknown pressures pushing against a backflow would be, in a sense, installed backwards. Before I allowed them to connect anything in there, I stood there and watched the contractor cut and cap the supply line coming from the town water after the backflow. So you still have that backflow protection and the solenoid valve protection once that's tank water is no longer being used. So that was the ultimate concern of public health, public safety, and the integrity of the distribution system. So make sure that was not a concern of ours to have to worry about as a threat for cross connection.
I'm personally glad that the Veterans Memorial is done. I've been by there a number of times. I've seen their sprinklers running off the tank. I am still deeply concerned about the long-term viability. No matter how much water they put on that memorial to install plantings and sod, the last week of July with the anticipated weather that we're talking about, I hope the sod makes it through the summer into the fall. Had they talked to us or talked to somebody else, maybe they would have found a way of planting and sodding later in the year so there was a better ability for the sod to take hold rather than stressed as it's going to be every single day now, no matter how much water you put on it.
Sure.
Well, great, great concerns that I don't think we're also taking into consideration in their planning, but
One other thing I think the department needs to do, I noticed it myself and I asked before the meeting, there are a number of commercial entities in town that have their own wells. There's some private residents that have their own wells for irrigation purposes. If in fact you're a private entity, the residents are commercial, and you're using a well that has its own system and not using municipal water, you need to make sure you put a sign at the street so that the residents know that in fact it's not municipal water, it's a private well system. Stop and Shop was the one I was talking about. I drove by 2:30 today and watched the sprinklers going back and forth. And I said, something's wrong with this. But they do have their own private well.
I'll follow up and confirm that tomorrow.
But we ought to be doing that and looking for that, especially in the major commercial areas where they do that. I think any of the
Part of the
areas.
bylaw says they're supposed to be identifying it too, right?
I believe so, yes. Most times, the guys are out, if they do see someone that's in violation or has an irrigation system that they've a newer home, they will approach the property owner and ask me, so we got a well, advise them they need to put a well water sign out. Within a week or two, they do have a sign out front of the state's well water.
Okay.
One at the town hall, would you want one at the schools? So Lake has a well, but they don't have a sign.
Then they should have a sign.
No, make it for that.
We will talk to somebody on the school committee and ask them to get a sign up ASAP.
You just did.
Matter of fact, maybe a couple of signs, one for Pembroke Street and one for Lake Street. Any other business come before the board?
And I think, Bob has some.
Yeah.
Bob?
So Chris and I sat in on the OCDC planning meeting, and I don't know, and Chris can talk about his opinions as well, but it just seemed like they were looking for, besides the basic information, what were there any political or other sort of issues that we might have in giving up some of our water is basically what it seemed like, finding some regional solutions that might involve sharing or other sort of things. And it just got the general gist that what they're looking for isn't really in our best interest right now in terms of contributing much. I mean, I definitely think we should take part and hear what they're talking about, but a lot of the things they want to do, I don't think are in the best interest of the Kingston Water Department. It might be in the best interest of the region, but maybe not for us. and like whatever they're doing might need to go through the state instead, because I don't see any voluntary compliance in some of the things they were looking for. Chris, what was your takeaway?
Yeah, I have a similar feeling on that. That they're looking to regionalize water. From Boston down to Provincetown, interconnections every which way. As Bob said, I don't think it's in the best interest of us or Kingston Water in the sense that, we're very fortunate with the aquifer that we sit on and the quality of the water we sit on, where other communities around us are struggling with bigger problems with iron, bigger problems with manganese, PFAS, other, surface water with disinfection. Fortunately, we don't have a lot of those hurdles we need to cross. But just water quality and aesthetics in one, but then you couple that with varying pressure zones and the other sorts, that there's so many variables you need to come into play to make it all jive and work together as one big, regionalized or county municipal water system. It's a very complex system.
I think one of the things that I think about too is, since well before I was a water commissioner, so if this is anything I did, there's always been a very forward-thinking department. We've always been ahead of whatever the issues were going down the road. And whenever we apply for a grant or something, we seldom are qualified because there's other people that qualify more because they have more of an emergency than we do. One of the reasons they have more of an emergency than we do is because they haven't done the things that we've done in anticipation of these things happening. So we plan ahead, we get everything set up, and now we're going to hand that over to somebody else.
Yeah.
And by the way, the other communities that are going to need the water haven't been doing those things. So it's almost like we're being punished because we had shown forethought and we're ahead of game and planning. That's my take on it.
Yeah, a lot of it was just a lot of questions that they're looking for answers that can make everything as one joint big system, like MWRA. And I think to regionalize like that, it would just really, as you said, it would destroy the quality of the water and everything in Kingston. We work so hard and strive so hard for to maintain.
And they're looking to produce a report by this fall for distribution to like state legislatures. And I think it's important to me to stay listening to what they're proposing. There's going to have a draft that comes out. We'll have some chance to put some feedback on as well. I know they have their next meeting is tomorrow, which I'm unable to attend from 9 to 12. I don't know if anyone else wanted to sit in on that. Don't all speak up at once.
Everyone take one step forward.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted you to step forward in that is I was having a lot of those same feelings, and I was wondering if it was just me, and I wanted someone else to hear what they had to say. You're coming back with the same.
Yeah. I think we can even just wait for their draft report to come out in the fall and then see and give some feedback then. I don't know how much we're going to contribute to the discussion there now, since I think we're in the higher end of the water systems. We're just going to lose if we voluntarily take part in that. But it'd be interesting to see what they recommend to the state, and then put our own little addendum onto it in the fall. But
So they are asking for a scoring objective. They want you to put points to priorities of our water department. I don't know if you guys want to take some time and look over it. I did put it in the packet as an add-on because I received another email about it.
Which color? Gray?
OCPC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's almost like 7 items that they're looking you to point a score to. And then there's metrics that they're going to be placing in that final report that Bob mentioned that they want to know any feedback on. It was supposed to be due July 12th, but they've obviously not gotten responses from some communities, us being included, so they've extended the deadline.
In that meeting that Bob and I attended, it seemed a lot like there was not getting a lot of cooperation from surrounding communities. They kind of like, hey, look, we're dealing with our own stuff and mitigating and coping with what they have to deal with. as opposed to try and intertwine that with another community. I mean, it's like,
And that's the conflict between their assigned job is to do this regionalization thing. Our assigned jobs have nothing to do with it.
sure.
And figuring out a way to get the two things to work together, it's gonna be really difficult. I remember the first meeting I went to, I'm just thinking, I don't know how you're gonna pull this off.
Yeah. I had the same thought. Like, this seems kind of average. I don't know.
There's people whose job depend upon getting this, so that's why they're continually coming at us about it. They may even agree with us, but that's your job.
Sure, I mean, if you
Your
get a
job is to
community,
make this work.
yeah, if you have a community that pulls out of surface water, and community that pulls out of groundwater, to blend those two together, it's,
Bad idea.
you have a closed system.
And inevitably, you'll have to use one of those cross taps and that's what we'll start.
I have a real problem in the way they put it. Please distribute 100 points among 7 objectives in the table below. How about if we don't agree with any of them? Do we just put 0 on all of them? I think the scoring objectives is the wrong approach. And I would basically communicate that back, that trying to put a objective number on a subjective thought is impossible if you can come up with, the right answer.
Mhm.
No matter what you get, you're gonna have the wrong answer. We may think it's important, they may not, we may not think it's more, I would tell them, scoring objectives are irrelevant.
I mean, I could certainly send a message back saying that you discussed it and you're all in agreement that,
If someone wants to put numbers to them,
I'm looking at it and I wouldn't even know where to begin.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, I would be hesitant
Yeah.
to start putting numbers on something without having, a clear understanding of what the answers could lead to.
I mean, the easy answer is pick the last one, encourage sustainable water use to meet the needs for housing and economic prosperity, put 100 there, 0 for the rest of them, and walk away.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do, sure.
And no, there's no cross connections to other communities.
well, how do you want to respond to that? You want me to just say what you said that, or?
It's, that's my figure.
That's my opinion, it was Bob's opinion earlier. I don't see where this has any direct value to Kingston in the near or really foreseeable future. I think it's a net negative for the town of Kingston. And I hate to, I believe a lot of regionalization about a lot of things, but this is not one of them.
Yeah, the blend is too complex.
Yep.
From one community to the next.
Too many different water commissions that have different priorities, and I don't want to be in where we're constantly feeding other people's stuff because they didn't do it when they were supposed to.
Yeah. My just is that what they're planning needs to be a state run, state funded, state organized, state, not us.
Yeah, it's one thing if you look at the Quabbin Reservoir and the MWRA. Their water supply is one big reservoir. So, it goes through a pump system and some treatment facilities, but once it goes in the pipe, it's all the same water. That's not the case in the South Shore. We're talking about, multiple municipalities.
PFAS, the PFAS is the key there. We don't have it, and other communities do, and why do we want to integrate that
Even
water?
without that, Plymouth uses some, municipal, reservoirs and some wells, Beckley's all wells. I don't know what, all the other towns are. You can't just blend them together in a mixer and come out at the end,
They seem to be thinking about some alternative sources, like they mentioned Brockton's desalinization plant. So I don't know if that's one of their goals, is to get desal online in a larger sense for the communities, which would be maybe a regional thing. Possibly they could add into the system, but that just seems like they're talking 2050 is what they kept mentioning. 2050. So.
It'd be great to know that Brockton's actually using desalination water within the municipal system instead of just pumping it back into the river, but that's not my concern.
Yep. Oh, good.
uphill battle with the Interbasin Transfer Act, so that's completely opposite to this.
What they're talking about. you know.
And we kind of don't need to be part of these contracts,
Yeah.
we just,
Okay. I
Very
got
good.
what I need.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
No, but hold on.
Oh,
So going back to our regular meeting schedule in August, the second and fourth
yep,
Tuesday.
3:30
Yep.
for,
So our next meeting will be August 13th. Everybody's in town.
August 27th, I will not be in town.
So, is August 27th, are you still available, Bob and Bob?
yeah, I'm available.
Okay, all right. Okay,
I'm there both days.
okay. When you go back to school?
The day after Labor Day, I've got a Wednesday, Thursday thing, but then that first Tuesday in September.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we're back to 4 o'clock, starting in September, right?
That would be good.
Okay,
Is four is okay
is 4 o'clock okay, Bob?
Yep, 4's good.
in September? Okay. All right,
I move to adjourn.
someone want to second that?
Second.
Move second until voted.